and welcome back if you've been around for a while, or welcome if you're new. In today's video, I thought I would address a topic that I've been getting a fair amount of comments and DMs about, and that is how to react when someone you love, whether it's a child, a friend, a family member, comes out to you as a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. I want to preface this whole video by saying I am not a family therapist, I'm not a professional, other than the fact that I am a member of that community who has had to come out to people. So I'm just going to share what I would appreciate, as well as refer you to my favorite resource, which is pflag.org. I'll link in the description below. They have a ton of resources for parents and family of individuals who are part of the LGBT community. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So first off, a little disclaimer. I have a feeling as I talk about this, I'm going to specifically refer to a situation of a parent whose child has just come out to them. However, I think these tips and tricks and recommendations are totally applicable if it is a friend or an adult family member who's trusted you and has come out to you as well. So first up, I think, is hopefully obvious to most people, and that is to meet the individual's disclosure with love and acceptance. Particularly for a parent to a child, you just want to reiterate that unconditional love. This doesn't change how you feel about them. If you're worried that it does change how you feel about them, in my opinion, it is best to come out, first of all, with love and support and take time to process your own feelings, because you can do so much damage by having a negative reaction and then trying to walk that back as you've processed things yourself. If it's a surprising admission, I think it's totally acceptable to say, particularly for an older person, an older child, to say, I love you, I'm a little surprised, and kind of leave it at that. You don't want to put your own emotions onto the person who just came out to you. Your emotions are your responsibility, they're not that person's, and if it is somebody who you love and they love you, probably all they're looking for is love and support. It can be so much more important to meet this important moment in that person's life with love, even if you're not sure down the road how you'll feel. The next big one, as far as being supportive, is just listening to what they want to share. I think for some people, the desire can be there to really dig in, try to get details, try to get more things figured out. And while you know the person best and that might be okay, for most people, in general, if you're loving and accepting, they're going to share what they're comfortable sharing, and probably all they want from you is for you to listen, unless they're asking specific questions like, how do you think I should tell so-and-so? Or do you have any advice for, etc., etc.? And also in that moment, I think you want to be exceptionally careful about what advice you offer. I know when I get this question in general, like how should I respond when my child comes out, I'm really hesitant to share specific steps because every situation, every family, every community is a little bit different. And ultimately, the individual has to do what they feel comfortable with, what guarantees their safety, their well-being. And again, it's more about that individual person than it is about you who is sharing this information or being told this information. So active listening, nodding, repeating things back. And then last but not least, like I said, be supportive. These all sort of go together: loving, listening, be supportive. Let that person know that you're going to be there for them in the future, even if you're not entirely sure what, them coming out means for you or even them. But let them know that, hey, I'm here if you need to talk. Thank you for trusting me with this information. And letting them know, like, hey, I'm here to support you. I want to do what's best for you. We're going to figure this out together. Or letting them know what you're going to do. If you're a parent and you're not sure, say, hey, I'm going to reach out and try to find some other parents who have been in this situation and see what worked for them and what didn't work. But yeah, basically just letting that person know that they're loved, supported, and heard. Those are the big three in my opinion. Again, if you go to the PFLAG website, I know that they have even more sort of tips and recommendations, so those are definitely out there. But for me, as a person who's come out to other people, that's all I want. I want them to hear me, I want them to be supportive, and I want them to love me if it's somebody I'm close with. Obviously, if it's like a work situation and it's somebody I don't know that well, I don't need for them to tell me that they love me. That said, it's very nice to hear that they accept me, and knowing this one part of my life doesn't change their perception of me as a whole person. My next 3 tips are for parents or really close loved ones of somebody who's coming out, and they're relating to how I think you should take care of yourself or things that you should do for yourself. This isn't necessarily in the moment of that individual coming out, because like I said, as they're coming out, what I would want from somebody are just those 3 things: love, listening, and acceptance or support. But as you know, you get some distance from the conversation and you're processing things for yourself, these are things that I think are important for you to do on your end, your time for you. The first one is to take some time and figure out how you're feeling and to validate that feeling. I think it's totally understandable from my perspective if a parent is upset or confused, shocked, or initially just has some more negative type feelings. As a parent, you kind of get preconceived notions of where your child's life is headed, and it is okay initially to feel a little worried, stressed, anxious, etc. about your child coming out. You could feel that way about all sorts of information and things that your kids do. It's okay to feel that way. The reason you need to accept those feelings and validate them is hopefully you don't want to put them on your child. So you need to figure them out internally and kind of make some action steps for how to change those perceptions, or to at least continue being positive and supportive of your child, considering you probably want a loving relationship moving forward. I always say to myself, you can't necessarily control how you feel when you hear something. You can control your reaction and your behavior related to that feeling. I also think in some ways you can think yourself out of feeling certain ways. And if you are feeling those negative things, it's important, if you want a positive relationship moving forward with that person in your life, to figure out how to be more positive thinking and accepting of the information they just shared with you. To piggyback off that, even if you're not feeling negative, if you're feeling, more positive, you're truly feeling accepting, loving, etc., it's important to find your own support. As a person who's come out to other people, it can be a little uncomfortable for me when the people I've entrusted with that information turn to me to support them in dealing with things. Mostly because that's not my experience. My experience is kind of on this side of sharing the information. So when somebody isn't sure how to handle this revelation, how to handle somebody coming out to them, it's really difficult for me to separate myself from my side of it and be truly supportive and objective with the things they're sharing with me. So again, PFLAG or other support groups, even a friend who's been through a similar situation and handled it in a way that you think is positive or, led to good results, go to those people. Ask those people for advice and support and, whatever you're needing. If it's just somebody to listen to you so you can process how you feel, find your own people to do that. Just like it's totally okay to feel the way you feel initially, it's also totally okay to need some help processing these things. We are social creatures. It makes total sense to me that an individual receiving this information might want some support from another person to help them process and talk through things. So yes, definitely find some people who can support you, who can help you process through whatever you're feeling, and just generally maybe have some experience dealing with these type of situations. Or even if they don't have direct experience, people who are important in your life and have supported you in the past are great resources to turn to try to sort through your own feelings about the situation. And by finding your own support, you're able to be that much more supportive to the individual who came out to you. Last but not least, it isn't necessarily a tip or a trick, but I think it can be helpful to remember, and that's you're important. You are important to the person who came out to you. Assuming it's a close family member, like I said, it seems like I have to come out at every job I have. And yeah, coworkers are definitely important to me, but sometimes I'm coming out to somebody who I don't actually know that well and I just am having a conversation with. But assuming this person is a close family member, a child, whoever it may be, you are important. They're choosing to come out to you for a reason. You matter to them. They are looking for your support, your continued love and acceptance. They're expecting you to be in their lives to an extent where that information is critical for you to know to some level. And otherwise, just remembering that, like I said, you are important to that person. And for that reason, it's very important that you yourself take care of yourself. I think especially in the role of a parent or a really close family member or friend, your self-care is critical. It's that classic thing of you can't take care of somebody else until you're taken care of yourself. So it kind of goes back to validating your feelings and finding your own support. Those things are critical so you can then be there for the person who entrusted you with this information, particularly for a child. Again, it depends on the community and the situation, but it can be exceptionally difficult to choose to come out to somebody. So the fact that they have chosen you, that they're trusting you, that they love you enough to share this information indicates how important you are in their life. So definitely take some time to take care of yourself. So just to recap real quick, for the immediate situation when somebody's coming out to you, want to make sure to express that you love them, that you're supportive no matter what, and otherwise you are just there to listen. Again, if they're asking specific questions, it may or may not be appropriate to, help them delve into that some more, but primarily you're there to listen, especially in these early conversations. For you yourself, it's very important to validate your feelings, explore what you're feeling, consider why you're feeling that way, and then find your own support to help process through those things, to come to your own conclusions, and to rely on when you generally just need somebody to share your side of things. And then last but not least, keep in mind that you are important to the person who came out to you. And with that, hopefully it's helpful. Like I said, I am not somebody who is a parent who has been come out to. It's a weird sentence. I have had friends come out to me, and I've used these tips for myself, even though I am a person who is gay and has come out to other people. It can still be, just as blindsiding to me when somebody comes out to me if I didn't see it coming. Generally I do, but not always. There's really no right or wrong as long as you're being positive and supportive. That's all I'm going to say. Again, a great resource is PFLAG. I'll link it below. Otherwise, Google is a great place to find other support groups, local resources for your community, etc., etc. Hopefully this helped. If you're going through it, feel free to DM me. I'm not going to give you really specific advice on what I would do, but I'm more than happy to listen, help you process, etc., 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 etc. Same if you're somebody who needs to come out to somebody and isn't sure how. I'm not going to tell you what I would do, but I'm more than willing to be supportive, cheer you on, and help you process what you think is best for you in your situation. But anyway, we will see you next time. Bye!